Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Not to get off track here, but I feel like we're in the Truman Show, and we're in a snow globe, and we just shook it up.
Welcome to reality.
And a good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Jeranism Monday Night Raw, your current, reigning, defending, and unarguably the #1 show on True Frequency Radio on Monday nights between the hours of 6 and 8 Pacific. That's 9 to 11 Eastern. I'm your host, Jeran from Jeranism. Please subscribe to my channel. It's where I post all my fantastic videos and live streams. Also, subscribe to Jeranism RAW. Very simple to subscribe to that on YouTube. It did get its monetization back yesterday, which is first time in something like 14 months. So I'll be posting some videos and some raw segments over there. So definitely subscribe to that channel. My co-host tonight and every Monday night for the foreseeable future, except for maybe next Monday, is the one and only David, the man with the plan, Weiss. David, are you there?
What is going on next Monday?
It is Memorial Day.
Ah, yes.
Don't you have some plans? Aren't you going out to go sailing or whatever you do?
If it was windy, that would definitely go, but probably won't happen next week. But
all right,
you're right. We'll probably be in rerun next week.
We will probably be in rerun next week. That's true.
Yeah.
So welcome to the show. David, let's start off with, here's the plan for the night. We'll talk about some stuff here for the first half hour. The second half hour is going to be the first ever Jeran versus David debate. It's going to be kind of
wait a minute. I have an announcement.
Uh-oh. Announcement time.
So
don't tell me you're on my side now.
Being that this was a very important debate, I brainstormed, if you will, with my sidekick, Bob Nodell.
All right.
And came up with basically, you're going to be flattened to the floor, and it's not going to be due just to density. And I've decided, now that I've given Bob all of the information, to let him present it on Sunday. So I'm not going to speak about it today.
We're not going to talk about it at all? All right.
We can a little bit, but Bob has the presentation that needs
I'll pull
the
back
video, so he has it.
No debate, everybody. Sorry about that. There will not be a Jeran versus Dave debate. Maybe we'll just discuss it a little bit because, hey, I'm open to being wrong. Many people have said that I'm wrong. Many people have messaged me and said that I'm wrong. Some people have even Skyped me and said that this disagreement will be the downfall of Flat Earth, which is just hilarious.
Get out of here. You know what's great? You know what? I'm kind of hoping you don't come around.
Yeah, me too. To be honest, because here's the thing. I've never
I can call you an idiot.
Societal pressure. Yes, that's exactly right. I've never backed down to societal pressure before. Just because everybody believes something certainly doesn't mean that I need to believe it too. But I can be swayed by evidence, and therefore I can't wait. So Sunday, Bob's going to present it. Is that the plan?
Yeah, that's the plan. Bob is going to present it as in the form of a mind experiment. Maybe he'll show a couple videos that we looked at today, and I believe that everybody that actually thinks about it, that it's on your side of the fence right now, will come over to the other side. The one thing I did point out though is
there anybody on my side of the fence though? Or
is there anybody? What's that?
Is there anybody on my side of the fence, or is it just me and Anthony Riley?
There were a few, but not anymore. They've converted today.
Just because you and Bob talked on the side, they converted.
The problem is well, it's not a problem. What's interesting is it doesn't matter who's right. It doesn't prove flat or globe Earth.
Absolutely not. No, and that's the great thing. That's why I said it's really akin to us arguing about who's hotter, Jessica Alba or Jessica Biel.
You keep saying that. I don't know who either one of them are.
Really? Oh, they're both.
You know what? If I saw them, I'd be like, oh, that's who you're talking about. I just don't know celebrity names.
Oh, okay. Well, clearly Jessica Alba is far more attractive. But it's really, it doesn't matter. It's like you could come to the table and say, no, Jeran, I think the other girl's more attractive, and we can go back and forth about it. We can talk about
Your
it.
voice is cutting out on my end.
My voice is?
Yeah, I keep losing. I'm losing like every half a sentence of yours.
Interesting. Let me try and see if anything fixes it. Is that any better? Testing 1, testing 2, testing 3. Any better?
You're a little distorted now.
Oh boy, can't win for trying.
What is this? Glowbusters?
Oh boy, so I guess we can talk about that. So what happened? You heard me starting Glowbusters yesterday? Is that what went on? You texted me and said we can hear you right now. Did you know that?
Oh yeah, I heard the whole thing. It was amazing.
Oh, that's how
I didn't think you weren't talking shit about Karen B like you normally do.
No. I was just talking slowly and kind of walking myself through it. It was very difficult to go from one channel on YouTube to the other and having one live stream.
It reminded me of the guys in the background during a NASA launch. You know, when they're talking, all systems go, nominal pressures up.
Is that what I like?
You know, it's what it was like.
Interesting. It was definitely fun. So yeah, if you guys missed Glowbusters yesterday, you can enjoy that little tidbit at the beginning where I'm talking myself through the start of the show. Quite fun and exciting. I thought it was a good Glowbusters. We got to go live and check out Bob over at the Force the Level experiment in Denver, which I thought was awesome. I think those guys deserve a round of applause. They did a great job, and I believe that they are, as we speak, crunching the numbers to see what the data tells us, but I do not believe we've gotten any results yet. Have you heard anything different?
I have not heard anything.
All right. Well, we'll find out. It was an experiment. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. I didn't get to hear. I didn't get to pay attention to all of Glowbusters. I have to go back and listen to it because I was hanging out with Aaron down at the beach.
Right.
And the funny thing was, we get out of the car, and he gets out on one side of the car, and there's some people walking by. Guy's got a NASA shirt on. And Aaron goes, "You believe you went to the moon?" And the guy goes, No, it was all fake. And then he walks on, and it's like nothing ever happened. I'm like, what just happened? I mean, what are the chances a guy with a NASA shirt's going to be walking by Aaron Rainin as he gets out of my car?
Do they give NASA shirts away for free? Because I see them all over the place, and then usually I just yell at them, "Space is fake."
You know what I noticed? What they do in a bulk store like Costco, in the book section, they have these incredible space, pop up embossed, high quality books, and they sell them for less than the cost of shipping, let alone the cost of production.
Right.
These books are being sold at a loss. So I'm guessing that they probably have good NASA stuff very cheap.
Yeah, I think you're right. And then the fact that you can put a NASA logo and it's not copyrighted. So I think that anybody and their grandma can make and sell a NASA T-shirt. So that's why there's just money to be made there. So that's why you'll find them at Target and you'll find them at Walmart, and they'll be $4.99 in the clearance section. And who wants to support NASA stuff going nowhere since 1958? By the way, if you want that awesome shirt, speaking of NASA logos and printing them for your own benefit, you can go to my Teespring store. You can just go to any of my videos, scroll down a little bit, you'll see my shirts. One of them that's selling like hotcakes right now, meaning I've sold 6 of them, is my NASA.
Wow.
Yeah, can you believe it? NASA going nowhere since 1958 shirt. People seem to like that one, or at least 6 of them do. And actually, now that I think about it, I bought one for myself. So really, that's only 5 people, 5 in myself. But it's a good shirt. But I totally know what you're saying, Dave. I think didn't I send you an image the other day when I was at Costco of some book. It said 1001 Space Facts, and right on the front is some astronaut, flying around with the globers behind it. It's quite exciting.
It's crazy.
Another thing that book said, I was looking in there and it said how to make your own compass. Okay. And at first I read it. When I read it, I'd immediately cover the instructions and say, Missa, come here, you have to read this. This says how to make your own compass. And it said, grab a magnet, grab a piece of iron nail or whatever. And then it said, grab a real compass. That's what it said.
What?
Yeah, I got to show you the picture. It's hilarious. I was like laughing at that. I was like, Missa, this is great. This is like how to make your own car. Grab a tire, grab a steering wheel, and grab a real car. That's how you make a real car. I don't know. I just thought it was funny. Maybe
I made a compass when I was in elementary school.
Out of what?
Float a needle on a cork, get a magnet.
And did you also need a real compass?
No.
Yeah, that's it.
Maybe.
This.
Now that I think about it, maybe. I was watching a video this morning by Flat Earth Awakening. Did you see it called Filming the Speed of Light or the Rate of Induction?
No, I haven't seen it.
So it's the scientists that said they filmed light going through a soda bottle, and they filmed it at a
Whatever
trillion frames. It just the speed that they did it, and they show this thing going through it, and it's just a cartoon, and people believe it. And then the scientists said that they're now working on doing 1 quadrillion frames per second, so they can really see what's happening to light. Okay, so let's put that in perspective.
Okay,
could you imagine a film going at 1,000 frames a second? Absolutely not. Okay, 1,000 frames a second. Think how much film that is, how much space that is, how fast that is. 1,000. If you could film at 1,000 frames a second, to get 1 quadrillion frames, which they're saying they're going to do in a second, would take 31,000 years. At 1,000 frames a second, it's 31,000 years to get to 1 quadrillion frames, and they're going to do 1 quadrillion frames a second.
Dave, science is amazing and fake. It's both of them.
I've been repeating that to myself like 50 times today, and I still can't wrap my head around how anyone could even think that is even a possibility in an insane, wild world crazier than we have now.
It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. I mean, how could you snap a quadrillion photos, which is basically what that is when you're talking about frames? It's going to snap
a quadrillion photos
in 1 second.
That's 1,000. At 1,000 a second, it would take 31,000 years. Just okay. The Earth hasn't even been here for nearly that long, in my opinion.
No, I would agree with you on that one. So you didn't get to see
dinosaurs. What? Go ahead.
Dinosaurs 65 million years old.
Yeah.
So Aaron Rainin had good things to say about me, or was that a joke?
He did. Well, the first thing he said, and I'm gonna stop short like he stopped short, is he said, when he bailed out because things were getting a little heated, he goes, but then I heard that after the show that he did later where he analyzed the Aaron Rainin interview, and he goes, Jeran was right on, right on. And he goes, he does what a lot of people do, is takes it as far as he can to protect his livelihood.
He's a smart man.
Yeah.
Something that I've realized, and Miss is now working for DoorDash, right? But before she worked for them, she had applied for 4 or 5 jobs and just never got a call back. And we just said, that's weird. Why are they, putting up posters saying that they're accepting job applications, and they just never called you? And then I heard a recent video from Jesse Spots, and Jesse Spots was talking about how he hasn't been able to get a job because nowadays they search your social media presence.
I'm glad you brought this up. Continue.
Okay. So I think that's nerve-wracking, and well, at this point there's nothing I can do about it, but it's something I certainly never thought about as I started doing this. I was just being honest with my opinions, what I think the world is, pulling all my evidence together. But at this point, Dave, I don't think I'd be able to get a job.
I disagree.
I apply. Well,
totally disagree.
And you probably disagree because you're saying I would need to find a job that has somebody at the head that is a flat earther. That's
no. Well, I think it's going to a point that it is going to flip. It's going to flip. There's so many people that are interested in this topic. There's people that aren't flat earthers that would be fascinated with you. And I would say within a year or two, maybe less, that it's going to totally flip, where it's going to be a bonus that you are thinking outside the box. I mean, look at a couple years ago, people never even knew what fake news was, but now CNN, everyone knows it's fake news. They know that it's fake. They know that science is getting exposed. This stuff is coming out whether they want it to or not. The question is, are they going to flip the table over so a job is the least of your worries?
Right. it just goes to show you, though, Aaron Rainin is doing what he has to do, like you said, to maintain his income. Basically, if he went public and said he doesn't think we went to the moon, that immediately would hurt his future job opportunities, no matter how you look at it. That's what he's saying, and that's the truth, and that's why some of these people have gotten lucky. I mean, that's why it's okay when Kyrie Irving says it. He's already an NBA basketball player, and they made him retract. And same thing with Steph Curry, who said he didn't think we went to the moon. Immediately had to retract. But those people are already in those positions. But if you say those things before you're in those positions, they may hurt you from getting in those positions. But I do agree with you that maybe the tides will turn. And again, maybe they just didn't hire Missa because, I don't know, she wasn't qualified.
Let's talk about the Flat Earth Friend Finder for a second.
That's a good.
This thing hasn't even started to take off. The beta version is up. I believe they're going to announce it on Globebusters this Sunday, or maybe even this Sunday if William has it ready. Version 2, which is 1,000 times better. It's literally going to be like a Facebook thing. People are going to be not just using it to do meetups and and to find other people in their areas and start clubs and groups. People are going to be using it to find jobs.
Possibly.
People are going to be using it to network. People are going to use it to find partners.
Right. People
are going to be using it to find, people that want to, maybe make a community, buy a farm together. There's going to be so many stories that come out of this Flat Earth Friend Finder. It's going to do what the conferences did, but for everybody and for free.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and that's why I can't wait for it to come along. It's going to be, especially the updated version, it's going to be far better. We'll be able to edit our own profiles and go back and add an image if we want, or change our.
I was already on a beta version of it, and you can message somebody on it within it. Kind of like Facebook Messenger.
That's ridiculous.
You can totally be private. You don't even have to reveal who you are until you feel comfortable. It's gonna be super fantastic, and let's say you're traveling somewhere, you're in whatever another state, you can just look it up and ping somebody and say, hey, I'm in your area, want to meet at the pub, and boom, you have an instant meetup.
That's awesome. It's going to be awesome. And you say they might reveal that on Globebuster Sunday?
I think that's the plan, that they wanna reveal it on Globebusters. I think the best bet is to actually have William on and do a screen share if he's ready. It could be another week, but I think he might be ready this weekend. To just show people what it is and get it going.
Awesome. Well, tell Aaron Rainin I said hello if you see him again. And then also, I heard he redid his website for the 50th anniversary special, so everybody should check out moonhoax.com. That's moonandhoax.com.
Moonhoax.com.
Yeah, that's awesome. What a cool website. I wish I had it myself. Maybe I'll get Apollo Hoax or something. I'm sure it's taken too. But anyway.
And you, I was speaking with Mel Fabregas from Veritas Radio, and he said that you were fantastic and that it's going to be great, but it's not coming out. When is the 50th anniversary? In July?
Yeah, well, it'll be July 16th through the 20th.
July 16th is my birthday,
Is it really?
Yes, it is.
Not 1969.
No.
Okay.
But so I would assume it's going to come out the Thursday before that, is my guess.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
Or the Thursday, 2 Thursdays before it. That's my guess when it'll come out.
Okay, so it'll be a ways away. But yeah, that happened on this past Wednesday. Had a nice 2-hour interview with Mel Fabregas, who I think is one of the best interviewers in the business. And we just had a good chat, a good 2-hour talk about the moon landings and the biggest fraud ever perpetrated on the world that took place between those days of July 16th to July 20th, 1969.
And I'm sure Flat Earth came up in that interview, right? Of course, no doubt.
Absolutely.
Right. So sorry, want to finish your point because I got a point to make.
I don't remember my point. No, it was just a great interview. It was, and I definitely brought up Flat Earth, but I just told people at the same time, I know that a lot of his listeners may not be Flat Earthers, and I told them, look, we've been lied to so much by the government that at this point we're just going to talk a lot about the moon landings, but I myself am a Flat Earther, and if you go down this rabbit hole, you'll probably end up there too. And you may not think it's crazy at this point, but just let us listen to us talk about, and at least I know one thing, that Mel's totally on the side of the fence that the moon landings, of course, had never happened.
Right. So Mel, his podcast had a lot of space enthusiasts in it, including myself, for years, long before Flat Earth.
Right.
And did a lot of alien stuff, and before any of us knew any better. But then he actually had Eric Dubay on, I think twice.
I think
then
so.
He had me on. Then he had both of us on.
One of our best ever.
Yeah. But each time he brings up Flat Earth, he gets people. I quit. The whole thing. I was a member. Now I'm leaving. But then he started to get new members, and he's been having more and more. But he's again, he's holding that balance. But I'm noticing that in every show that he has, people will be talking about great stuff. Like last week, they had a guy called Aliens and Agenda 21, and he had really good information. But there were so many times he went back to NASA. He said, well, NASA had these photos, and I did a Freedom of Information. And, every time someone mentions NASA, we're just thinking, all right, you're totally gone. But Mel always just does a little Flat Earth little poke in every show. I said I'm noticing that he does it in every show, and I think it's hysterical. Like someone will go, the whole planet, and he'll go, or plane, and that that's it. He'll just throw that in, and it's good. So again, applause to Mel for having the courage to lose some subscribers over addressing what we think is the most, or one of the most important topics out there. So. The tide is already turning for him. He's getting more subscribers because of Flat Earth, just like people will be getting more gainfully employed because of Flat Earth.
All right. Sounds good. Did you watch no, you said you weren't going to watch the Apollo 11 documentary I told you to watch.
I'd rather watch your Red's Rhetoric video.
Holy smokes. I don't know about that. Needles in your eyes and ears. No. Now, so you didn't get a chance to watch Glowbusters in full?
I know. I listened. I was a little distracted. I was listening to most of it, but it was hard. It's hard to hear Iru when there's other noises around and you're only listening in one ear.
All right. Well, let me finish off this little segment here telling you what Iru talked about. Iru brought up a documentary. Everybody can find it on Netflix right now. I watched it this morning. It is called Houston, We Have a Problem, and it's fantastic. It is so good. It's one of the, I don't know, I guess I don't want to say one of the best documentaries I've seen, but it talks about the Yugoslavians, and it goes into detail about Dave, you got to watch it.
What's it about?
Okay, so it's on Netflix. Okay, number one, so you can watch that. You have Netflix, right?
Of course.
Okay, so after the show, get in bed with your lovely bride and turn on Netflix and watch this hour and 20-minute documentary.
We don't have a TV in our bedroom, but we can figure out another way.
Miss and I don't either, but you figure it out, okay? So you have the Yugoslavians who around 1960 or so developed a space program, okay? They got a bunch of these physicists together and these, tried to build some rockets. They quickly realized that it didn't work, that they couldn't do anything. They couldn't go anywhere. One time they tried to launch some rocket with a pig in it. It went 100 miles, crashed in the ocean, and they just realized, oh man, we don't have a chance here. So what did they do with it in 1963? They sold it for some $3 billion to the United States. Now remember, 1969, supposedly, the United States goes to the moon. But in 1963, they had no idea about space to the point that they bought a space program for $3 billion from the Yugoslavians that didn't even work, and they didn't even know it. Basically, Kennedy bought it. He brought it back to the United States, turned it over to NASA. NASA looked at it for a little while and said, none of this stuff works. We don't even know what this stuff is. You made a mistake. So then the documentary is about all the things that took place when the United States got pissed off because they basically bought a dud. They bought a space program that didn't work. So they went back over there, made some demands. Eventually, they had to have one of the physicists that worked for the Yugoslavian, they had to have him fake his death. And in this documentary, he meets his daughter for the first time, and his daughter thought that she died. At the end of the documentary, they take you to his gravestone. The guy's standing, the guy's in a wheelchair, he's there, but he's standing looking at his own gravestone because they had to fake his death.
Now, is this true, or is it just to build a story?
No.
You got to watch it.
It's absolutely true. You have to watch it. Here, I want to play something real quick. Do I have my thing on that you can play this? Yeah. How much time do we have left?
You got 1 minute.
Oh boy, I probably won't have time to get it up. Let's see here. Let me look at it real quick. There's also on if you go to YouTube and you type in Houston, we have a problem. Houston. Oops, I'm typing it now. Houston, we have a problem. And then you type in Homeland Security. Okay. These guys who are doing this documentary tried to come over to the United States to film part of it. Let me see if I go videos.
Who filmed it? From another country?
Yeah, they're Yugoslavians.
Okay, they filmed it.
Yep, they were making this doc. There was one guy from the United States. Well, anyway, when they came to the United States to film part of it, the Homeland Security found out what they were doing and tells them they have 48 hours to get out of the United States because they have uncovered secrets. I got to find it for you. I'll have to go to YouTube right here. I'll go during the break.
Is this part of the movie?
No, it's a deleted scene.
Okay.
If you go to YouTube and then you find the deleted scene from that, and they're basically being told by Department of Homeland Security. Now, could that be fake? A lot of people would say, you'll have to watch it for yourself. But when you watch the whole documentary, as soon as they, we'll talk about it when we get back from the break. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Jeranism Monday Night Raw. More coming up.
The reviews for Extendivite are...
right, welcome back. You are listening to Jeranism Monday Night Raw. Before the break, we were talking about the documentary that you can find on Netflix called Houston, We Have a Problem. It's about the Yugoslavian space program. And if you read the trailer on Netflix, or actually on YouTube, it says, and again, this is what you have to be careful of, is these guys cannot come out and say that they're making a documentary about this. They have to call it a docufiction. And here, I'll read it for you. It says, the Cold War, the space race, and NASA's moon landings are landmark events that defined an era, but they are also fodder for conspiracy theories. In Houston, We Have a Problem, filmmaker Ziga Verk adds new material to the discussion on both fronts. This intriguing docu-fiction explores the myth of the secret multi-billion-dollar deal behind America's purchase of Yugoslavia's clandestine space program in the early 1960s. So they have to say that. You have to watch it yourself and realize that they're not exploring the myth. They're showing you all the true things about it. I don't know if this will play, but
the other thing.
Can you hear that, Dave?
Not just our pride.
Yes, I can hear it.
Okay, so this is the trailer.
country is in dire trouble.
It says, in the 1950s, the USA was falling behind the USSR in the race to the moon. Allegedly, there was also a third player in the race. It's not a very good trailer. Anyway, it says Tito is said to have initiated a covert Yugoslavian space program. They show this underground base. They go to this underground base. As soon as they get there, the police show up and tell them you have to check their IDs, and they're not supposed to be there. Here is the deleted scene. And again, this is in a hotel room in September 2014 in New York. The description says, during the Houston We Have a Problem film production in the United States, European film crew is visited by 2 agents of the Department of Homeland Security. The film crew is then asked to leave New York in the next 48 hours. This video is shot on a mobile phone. Here we go. We'll listen to it. Here it comes. I believe it's coming. It's only about a
How's
minute.
everybody tonight? I'm Agent Kirby. This is Agent Kirby, Department of Homeland Security. We just have a few questions about your stay here. Can we see your passports, please?
Sure.
Gentlemen, what is the purpose of your visit to the United States?
We're doing a documentary film. It's called Houston, We Have a Problem.
What's it about?
It's about Yugoslav space program. It's an old story, 50 years.
Gentlemen, your foreign representative media visas have been canceled, and we're asking you to leave within the next 48 hours. Well, for now, we need you to shut down production, and we'll have a car come here in 48 hours. We'll arrange travel for you back home. In the meantime,
What we have done wrong?
nothing you need to worry about right now. You're involved in an investigation involving a leak of some classified information, and until that investigation is all wrapped up, we just need you to stop what you're doing right now, finish the production.
If I understand correctly, we have to leave U.S.
I just need you to be clear that in 48 hours we'll have a car here, pick you up, and take you to the airport. Any questions about that part?
No.
Okay, great. Okay. Thanks very much for your cooperation, gentlemen. Have a good night.
Good night.
And you can find that on YouTube, and you can see part of it. Of course, they've got people's faces blurred out. But
What year was it?
2014. So
Wow.
supposedly the Department of Homeland Security kicked them out for even thinking of doing this movie. Again, you have to watch it for yourself. You have to not believe everything you read, not believe everything you see. You need to watch the video and make your own mind up. So I think it was great. Iru went into detail about it throughout Globebusters. It may have been hard for people to understand what he was saying. At first, I didn't really follow the story much, but he said, it's important that you watch that. And so I said, okay, so I watched it this morning. It's easy to find on Netflix. Just search Houston, We Have a Problem. And when you watch it, you will be amazed at some of the things shown. And they eventually show, all the Apollo astronauts get to Yugoslavia after, and basically tell them, you just have to watch it yourself. It's very interesting. So that was that. I also wanted to mention that this week I was on a Ranty-a-thon, which was a little promotion for Ranty Flat Earth. He's trying to purchase a drone to do some of his observations. He does great work. If you want to support him in that effort, please go to tinyurl.com/ranty, R-A-N-T-Y, drone, D-R-O-N-E. And I believe I'll be doing a show with him this week. We'll be talking about some things and then also asking people to head over there and support him if you can. He's done some of the best observations that I've seen. In fact, he just released a video today Today's the 20th. Yes, called "The Game Is Up. We See Through Your Deceit. The Earth is Flat." This is a fantastic video. It's only 6 minutes 47 seconds long. You have to check it out. What he does is he lives near the water, near the ocean somewhere, and there's actually a post, not a post, maybe a handle, a rail, where he can actually sit his camera right on top of it. What that allows him to do is to go there on different days and always sit his camera on that exact same spot. So you can look across the water and you can see the changes that happen with different days. And he shows 2 different videos. One video he did just today where you go and there's a huge inferior mirage. You basically see the water underneath the buildings off in the distance across, I think he's looking at Barris Inferno. He's looking all the way across and you see this huge band of water that's covering up the bottom of the buildings. Then he shows an older video that he did more towards the winter when there's not the inferior mirage and you can see all the ground below the lighthouse. So this is what we've been trying to say the whole time, that the ocean is not raising and lowering enough for you to not see the land and then to see the land. Clearly what's happening here is atmospheric effects. What they do is they'll pinpoint just the video he has, because he has one video showing where it looks like the lighthouse is blocked by the water. And so they'll show that video and they'll say, see, the lighthouse is blocked, but they'll never show you the video that he has below that, which shows clearly the ground and the beach below the lighthouse. So fantastic video. Dave, have you seen it yet?
Yes, I did. I was I watched it earlier. When that's what people that's the thing that even gets me is when we see a mirage, what the thing that they call a mirage when the building is floating in the air, the building's not floating in the air. The building is right where it's supposed to be. It's just that below it you have this mirage where you can't see anything, where it reflects the sky. Is that explaining it right?
Yeah, I think so. It's an inferior mirage, yeah.
But it's not that the building is miraged. In this case, it's just that the land below the building or the bottom part of the building is invisible. It's in the zone of invisibility or whatever. That interview you did, that's what he called it.
Yeah, and the more and more distance that you go out, the more you're having to look through that dirty air, and the more that acts as a lens, and the more it's going to magnify what's directly behind it. So if you're looking across Chicago, and for that is because you're looking through the lens of that dirty air, it's magnifying what's right behind it, which is the water. And so you're getting more of a higher water look. And again, this video will show you exactly what we're trying to say. Now, this isn't clearly looking across that distance. That distance is, what, 60 miles, I think, when they see the buildings. And then also you just need to watch Rob Skiba's video, who shows you that what you're seeing is certainly not a mirage, that the buildings are actually right there. And you shouldn't be able to see them at all. So when people come back and say, well, how come the buildings are halfway covered by water? That's their excuse, even though the ball math says you shouldn't be able to see those buildings at all. So the flat earthers say, well, no, you can see half the buildings. And the globe earthers just say, yeah, but they're covered by water, therefore there's a bulge between you. If you watch Ranty's video, The Game Is Up, We See Through Your Deceit, the Earth is Flat, he shows you exactly examples of that. Now, across 50 miles, that's much more difficult to see because you have all that dirty air, and I've tried to explain that to people many times, why we can't see forever, that the air acts just as a pane of glass would in front of your face, that if you put one pane of glass, you can see through it. Put 100 panes of glass, you can probably still see through it. But as you keep adding more and more and more panes of glass, eventually you're not going to be able to see through it anymore. The air works the exact way. So anybody who thinks we'll ever be able to see 500 miles, you'll never be able to see that. The air will never be crisp enough for you to ever see 500 miles. It's impossible. So can we see 175 miles? Yeah, sometimes we can when the sun gets behind some big mountain like Canigou, when it creates the silhouette. You can see it, but for the most part, you're never going to see that. And as we stretch that out even farther, 200, 300 miles, 500 miles, you'll never see that. So when somebody says, well, why can't we see Spain from the east coast of the United States? You'll never see that. Number one, because of the amount of air in between you two. Number two, because it gets too small in the distance. We can't even see things 500 miles away, let alone 3,000. Dave, does that make any sense?
Correct. When people say, why can't I see Spain or whatever, I say for two reasons. One, because of the air, and the other is because of the angular size. It gets too small.
Absolutely. Yep.
Things 20 miles away get too small.
Right. And another video I've been meaning to do is, Nathan Oakley does a great job when he's talking about a brick. And he says, if you just have a brick and you have it next to the deck, or the ground, eventually, can you move that brick too far that it can no longer be seen? And the easy answer to that is yes. Clearly, if you back up a brick enough, you're not going to be able to see it anymore with your eyes. And then he says, well, what about if there was 10 bricks stacked on top of that brick? And, of course, the answer is, well, yeah, you could probably see that there's bricks stacked on top of that, which that alone proves that
great.
They disappear from the bottom up. So if you have 2 bricks now and you back two bricks away, well, yeah, eventually if you get 2 bricks far enough, they'll disappear. Well, what if I stack 10 bricks on top of those? Oh, yeah, I'll be able to see those bricks. Exactly what happened to the bottom 2. They disappear from the bottom up. This is the problem.
That's so good.
It's so freaking good. And that's
so good.
It's so good. This is everything rests on that.
I was about to go back to the ball because of that. Now I'm still flat.
Yeah, because they will keep telling you that things don't disappear from the bottom up. They have to tell you that because they call things disappearing from the bottom up curvature.
But if you go up higher, you can see the bottom brick again, though.
Absolutely, because you're increasing the angle to the bottom. And, I think Rumpus or somebody came on that show and said, well, tell me why if I have a brick hanging from a drone, why I can back it up and I won't. What if I – and then Nathan's like, no, you're not paying attention. We're talking about bricks at the deck. We're talking about bricks at ground level, not bricks up in the sky. We're saying bricks disappear from the bottom up at ground level, just like every building you see. So when you're looking across Lake Michigan and you see the buildings there, people might say, oh, well, we don't see the shore. We don't see the bottom of the buildings. Yes, the bottom of the buildings will always disappear before the top of the buildings. And if they say, that makes no sense, how is that? You just tell them, take 1 brick away from that building. Move that brick far enough, it disappears. Well, what if you stack bricks on top of it? You can see those bricks, but you'll never be able to see the bottom brick. It's too small for you to see. So it's the same kind of deal. Make sense?
Yeah, makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So did you listen to the Nathan Oakley today?
I did. Oh, boy.
He has a new rumpus.
Yeah, that was I don't think I listened to the whole thing because he gets quite annoying. He's probably on the phone right now.
M. Craig.
M. Craig.
Oh,
but he doesn't.
By the way, M. Craig,
show, does he?
Do not call in here. Do not, because I have no interest in talking with him.
No, somebody like that they don't get it, and they're just keep arguing the same
endless,
point. Right.
Endless. And he's using NASA. He goes, well, NASA flies in and out of space. There's your proof that space exists. I'm like,
that part. It'd be like somebody saying, well, this person was in 2 locations at once. How did they do that? That's impossible for somebody to be in 2 locations at once. And I go, yeah, but not really, because he can fly there in an instant. They go, people can't fly there in an instant. And I go, Superman can. I've seen movies of Superman. He flies from point 1 on the globe to point 2 on the globe in less than a second. Well, I can't use that if you're saying, well, no, we're saying that Superman is fake. And I say, no, it's not fake. It's the same thing. He's just saying, oh, there is a vacuum of space because that's where the shuttle flew. It's like, no, we're saying
M. Craig, you have an open invitation on Nathan Oakley's show tomorrow morning. He'll make space for you. Call there.
But what does he call him? It's getting confusing for people. What does he call himself on Nathan Oakley's show? It's not M. Craig.
I don't know. I don't know. Craig.
No. I don't even think he calls himself that. I think it's something.
He had initials. C something.
Well, why doesn't he use the same name?
I don't know. I think we came up with M. Craig because of the astronaut we had on the podcast.
Right. M. Scott Beach.
M. Scott Beach. So there was M. Craig, whatever.
That's pretty funny.
Matt came up with that.
Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah. So anyway, we talked about that. I talked about the Ranty-a-thon. Do that. Yeah. Nathan Oakley's show. Sometimes it's repetitive. It's a lot of the same thing over and over again. Sometimes you get a gem. And so wanted to mention that brick gem. And we did want to talk about, by the way, if people want to get in line to call in to talk to us, maybe you have a comment about our density little argument we're going to have here in a second. That phone number is 213-233-3998. Again, 213-233-3998. Whether you're a glober or you're a flat earther or whether you're in between or you're a globe skeptic, get in line when you call in. And if you have a question for us, comment, a statement, let's just try and keep them short unless there's not a lot of people on hold, and then we'll let you talk for as long as you want. Unless you're M. Craig or the meatballer caller who likes to go on and on and on about his research and then throws in the joke of he was at an IHOP and measuring pancakes. We don't have any of that here. So anyway, David, have you searched yet Jessica Alba or Jessica Biel?
No, I have not.
Okay, just was checking if I really want you to be on the side of Jessica Biel so that we can have a fake argument about that just to show the hilarity of it. Because it's okay if we have a disagreement about this. It doesn't prove anything. It's simply your own belief. It's simply your own idea. So what we're going to be talking here about is gravity. It is the density argument, the relative density argument. So Dave, why don't you tell people your position about whether or not there is a downward force?
There is something, a weak force or attraction that establishes a down towards the Earth. That's how relative density and buoyancy sort things out. Because if there wasn't a force of some kind, just like the band that did their music video on the zero-G plane with the water balloons and the marbles and the popcorn,
Sure.
and everything, that stuff floating, when that reference frame, the airplane, was free falling, everything in there basically had no force upon it, and nothing sorted itself out. It was just randomly floating. Only when the plane leveled.
Oh boy, you don't really think that, do you? The reason that it's floating is because the plane is falling at the same speed that it would. If the plane is flying straight, those things would.
Wait. The reference frame is falling at the same.
Right. Well, what
at the same pull that the force is. I'm talking about.
Hold on. We're gonna get. Hold on. You can't say things that are patently absurd and false. I'm not gonna allow that. You just said that if when they're in that plane doing that thing. Okay, so I picture that. I see what they're doing, and then you said things in there were not sorting themselves out. The hell they weren't. The plane is falling at the same speed that they sort themselves out. You can't use that as I'm
looking at Jessica Alba right now, and she's not even that attractive. Is she the prettier one?
Out of the two, yes. And she is hot. But I can agree there's hotter. But the question was Jessica Alba or Jessica.
Beal is the other one? B-E-A-L?
B-E-I-L.
B-E-I-L?
Please choose Jessica Biel. So that we can have an argument about that too. Okay, so hold on. Let me ask you a question. In my hand right now, Dave, I've got a toothpick. Okay? Hello? Okay. If I set that toothpick on the desk and I try and stand it up.
I like Jessica Biel. She's nice.
Not better than Alba. Come on.
Well, they look different. They're totally different.
Right. But see, this is the thing, is that we can have an argument about who is hotter, and you can give me your evidence and say, oh, no, this one's better looking. She's thicker. She's, whatever you want to say. And we can still choose to walk away from that conversation and be on different ends. For some reason, for somebody to say, you and Bob having this disagreement about relative density will be the downfall of flat Earth is the most ridiculous and patently absurd thing I've ever heard. It's just a joke. It's like, what, Bob and I can't disagree? Sorry, I'm not going to be swayed until the evidence leads me in that direction. And obviously neither is Bob. And it's okay. We can disagree on this. Dave and I can disagree till we take phone calls here, and we probably will. But
all right.
So hold on.
We have like 6 minutes left.
Okay, we have this toothpick. And why can't I just, if there's a force pulling it down, why can't I just stand the toothpick up on its end?
Why can't you stand it up on its end?
Yeah, why can't I just...
Because there's a force pulling it down.
Well, what do you mean? If it's pulling straight through the item, think of how dense this toothpick is. Why wouldn't the force cause it just to stand up?
I don't understand what you mean. Why would it stand up? Because it's not stable. It would just fall over.
Well, why does it fall over? There should be a force pulling it down.
Yeah, there is a force pulling it down.
Toothpick is very symmetrical and should be able to be held down by your magical force.
No, of course there is, but it's top heavy when you have it. You could probably balance it up on its end if it has a flat bottom, but if it doesn't, you're not going to have it exactly centered and it's going to fall over.
Oh, so the force doesn't pull things directly down, then it kind of pulls them to the side. I get it.
No, it pulls them straight down.
If it pulled things
straight down.
If it pulled things perfectly straight down, then my toothpick, which is perfectly symmetrical, would be pulled straight down and would be held in place standing up on its end. You can't even stand up a bike. What about a bicycle? Why can't I?
What are you talking about? It would fall over.
Dave, there's no force. This is what I'm telling you. There's no force pulling anything down. So let me tell you my opinion real quick. What do we have? 3 minutes left? We have 8 minutes left. We got plenty of time. Come on.
By the way, the entire chat on Ginger Sugar Bus thinks that you're totally wrong.
They can think that all they want. Dave.
Especially Karen B. She is just saying you are an idiot and a shill at this point.
Has that ever swayed me at all? No.
Ginger's on board too. So is Ace McLeod.
Yeah, they can all jump aboard. Enjoy yourselves. It's okay. It's okay for you to disagree with me. It's okay for me to disagree with you. I don't think there is a downward force. Let me explain why. If you go back and you look at the history of gravity, okay, and you talk about where it came from, The only reason they have to have gravity is because they need it for their ball Earth. Okay, so back when we talk about 2,000 years ago, if you want to look at what Aristotle said, or you want to look at these guys, they never argued anything like that. It was very simple for them. They said, first of all, that any force can only be applied on an object through contact. Okay, so at the time they probably didn't have a lot of knowledge about magnetism, but now we do. We can see that when we put a magnet near something, that it will pull it over. Correct. So we know that there's a force of magnets, but people want to just say that there's a force to the Earth, but for no other reason than they want to say that. Hold on. Hold on. What?
You're filibustering. Go ahead. We're running out of time.
No. So when they needed to come up with the idea about gravity, is they needed to have an understanding of why, when they saw the moon and they said, oh, what's the moon doing? And and then they came up with this thing, well, everything's falling and everything needs to be in orbit and things need to go around the sun. And when they started to think that way, that's when they came up with gravity. So just so you guys know, you're arguing a point that is needed by globe earthers. It's not needed by flat earthers. Why? Because things don't have to have a force pulling them down. Let me explain real quick with just a simple thought.
Hurry up. You got 30 seconds.
Yeah, I got 30 seconds. You ready? So if you have a golf ball that exists in air, okay, that's all you need to think about right now, that golf ball is more dense than the air it resides in. So it's in disequilibrium. It needs to go somewhere. Now hold that thought right there. Wherever it goes, okay, is where the land of Earth would be, wherever our feet would be, the place that we would stand, and no matter what, as humans, we will call that down. And it doesn't matter which direction it is. So this is what Dave is going to say, why don't things go up? Hold on.
The Earth is all there is. That's why everything goes down towards the Earth.
Okay, but so that's the direction that things go because of relative density.
So hang on. So have you seen that experiment where they have a nice slow stream of water coming out of a faucet, and then you put a static balloon next to it, and the water bends around the balloon?
Sure.
Okay. What's causing that water to go towards the balloon?
Static electricity.
A static force?
No, just call it static electricity. It doesn't need to
but
be.
It's a force. It's applying a force to the water, right?
Why do you have to use words that?
Hang on.
Hold on.
Okay.
Why do you have to say? Is it a force? Is it not a force? Is there?
Okay. Well, it's attracting the water. Whatever word you want to use, I use the word force. It's attracting the water, and it's countering the weak force that is pulling it down. It is countering it by forcing it to go to the right, by holding a balloon to the right.
Okay, sure.
So there is a force pulling the water in another direction.
So you
could use one force to counter another force.
Okay, but we can see that. We can calculate that. We can test on it. We can definitely prove that the static electricity is pushing the water. There is no proof that magical gravity pulls things down to the Earth, but you just want to assume.
I'm not saying magical gravity. I'm saying there's an electrostatic force that can be measured. So the Earth is filled with electricity. Do you agree with that?
I do.
Okay, so that is we live on an electrified Earth. There's an electrostatic force.
You can see when
how do you think we're going to be raptured? Okay, the electrostatic force is going to turn off, and we're all going to rapture away. And without that, the rapture wouldn't be real.
This is what everyone has a problem with. They always want to say, well, why don't things go up? And it's because if things that were in disequilibrium went up, then we would be standing up there, and we as humans would call that down, and we'd be having the same argument. You'd be saying, "What?"
This is an argument that means absolutely nothing.
Oh boy,
you're just saying that.
No, I'm not just saying that. I'm saying the argument about why does gravity choose to go down is the whole problem.
Stop using the word gravity. It's not gravity. It's an electrostatic force.
Okay, there's nothing pulling things to the. You think an electrostatic?
So have you ever seen the thing where they get the tinfoil little triangle and they electrify it and it floats up in the air?
Okay, so that we can prove what's causing that.
So we're countering it with the opposite force, with a stronger force.
So you're saying that same electrostatic force is pulling things down to the ground?
Similar, yes.
So why does dust just float around in the air in my bedroom? Why?
Because it's light. Because buoyancy. Because it's less dense. But it will settle down. It will settle down when the air settles down, and everything will go down. Everything goes down.
So easy with relative density. Everything is explained so easily, and then I have people saying, well, why does the air separate itself out? Well, because air down at the ground gets hotter. Because it's closer to the Earth, it gets heated up. When it gets heated up, what happens to things when they get heated up? They raise They rise up into the sky. What happens when things get too high in the sky? They get more dense. What happens to dense things? They get more cold. What happens to cold, dense things? They start to drop again, and you have the cycle that causes wind, the cycle that causes air currents, and it's all.
So, you ever get a big sheet of styrofoam and it's pretty charged up already, or just rub it a little bit and it gets charged up, and then hold it over a bunch of small little objects, plastic,
right,
seeds, whatever, they'll all jump up in the air.
Absolutely, and we can prove what caused that. There's no proof of the inverse of that things are being pulled down to the ground. They simply have to go somewhere. Anyway, we'll take your calls.
Censorship and regulation is becoming an ever-growing problem in today's modern media. From the mainstream to YouTube and Google, the information you're
down. Otherwise, it could go left, right, or upward, or forward, or backwards.
If it went left, right, forward, or
That
back,
would be the new down. I get it because it doesn't work that way.
it does. Let's go to the first caller, see if they're on my side or if
Listen, Jeran. How about this? Let's take a couple calls on the topic.
All right. So if you got a comment on this one, and I'm ready to take a beating. I understand that people have a desire for things they've seen their entire life that if you hold a pencil up and you drop it, it falls towards the earth, and there must be a force. There has to be a force causing.
Listen, stop talking like a Glober, or I'm going to kick you off the show.
I don't think you have the ability to do that. Do you?
Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know.
I better be careful. I better watch my step. First caller in the 530. You're on with Jeran.
Hey guys.
What's up?
Hey guys. You mind if I intervene for you guys? It's William from Northern California. How you doing?
Let's go, William. What's up?
Hey, not much. I've been kind of busy getting getting an experiment ready that I came up with, and I heard you guys kind of arguing while I was trying to get dinner ready. And
was it unpleasant?
I heard you. Well, no, it just seemed like you were very passionate, both of you. So
was your food floating up out of the pan while you were cooking, or was there a force holding it down?
It would float if it was in the air. But anyway, let's go. How about the steam? Was the steam rising?
So
just making sure.
Quick question for you guys. When you guys are talking about, from what I did remember from last week and this week, that you're talking about a direction. And so my question is, are you talking about the semantics of the word down and up, or the direction where our feet are at and the direction where our heads are at?
Correct. Those things will always be in place, right? No matter where humans resided, there would be our feet at the ground and our head towards the sky. So no matter where we were at, if we were on the side, we would call that down. If we were upside down, we'd call that down. So I don't know what direction you mean. Clearly what he's talking about is there's an electrostatic force pulling things down towards our feet. That's what Dave said.
Well, I mean, I know Mark Sargent talks about the electrostatic that's on the old-fashioned tubes of the TV, and I do remember that. Right. And I do know and if you ever remember touching them, you'd hear that static as well. And Dave, one quick comment.
Put your hand to the ground and felt that static, or
I feel it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
That's why you go out and ground. If you have indigestion, go outside and ground, and the indigestion goes away. What do you think that is? Magical what?
I don't know.
Thanks, Dave. I'll have to try that next time.
Try that. Anybody that you're not feeling well, ground yourself. Go outside. Pick a side.
We're always told to wear
Team
shoes.
David or Team Jeran?
We're told to wear shoes, and
yeah.
So two things I actually called to say. I wanted to be a little bit more precise and intelligent today. So first thing was about the app. The app actually found somebody 45 minutes away who reached out to me today via email.
On the Zoom Truth on the Flat Earth People Finder?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So, and then another person that I reached out to a week ago, when I was stationed in Vandenberg Air Force Base, this guy was in the very town I lived in, and so it was kind of cool. So we've been talking just kind of briefly. So I wanted to say that has been a pretty good thing so far. 2 weeks, and I've had I've reached out, and somebody's reached out to me. So that's been kind of cool.
Awesome. I love it.
And then, Jeran, I finally got your email, and I had meant to talk to you about an experiment I had come up with at the meetup, and I did not get around to talking to you about that. But I had sent you. What I produced was I thought a well thought out experiment in pretty good detail. I drew out a schematic, and in the text of the email is the premise of my experiment. And just really quick, what it's all about is I listened to this one YouTuber who debunks us. He's a young punk, and I looked up his channel, and it's called HIITH, which is kind of weird, but he has, I think, 38,000 subscribers, and he says we're idiots because the formula is not 8 inches per mile square. And then he says it with a sarcastic tone, like he speaks from authority, but he fails to tell us what the formula is. So I was thinking, how could I figure out a way to not just do a mathematical formula, but do a hands-on real-world experiment to verify that if that's indeed the correct curvature calculation. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, but if the Earth is 24,901 miles in circumference, then it most certainly is 8 inches per mile squared. There's no. that mathematically figured. So.
Well, and I'm not a mathematical genius, so I have personally, if I were to be honest, because remember we say to check in all things for yourself. Well, I don't know that formula and what it was in the trigonometry, but I did figure out a way to do it hands-on, real world, and draw the line myself and see what it comes to. And basically, what I came up with was 1 inch equaling 1 mile, scaling it down on a 2D model from a 3D, and seeing what the arc comes to, and should be able to demonstratively prove this one way or another in real world. So I don't know. Look at it when you get a chance. I think Dave would probably appreciate this experiment better, but I'd like to once and for all myself prove that is the calculation. It is correct, because a lot of people say it's not, and so I'm tired of hearing that. And I just like to be able to say I looked into it myself, came up with my own experiment, and it is true. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I've drawn it in GeoGebra, and a lot of people have done it in AutoCAD. So if you trust those programs, it's clearly 8 inches.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, and that you can scale it down, right? I mean, instead of calling it 24,901 miles, you can draw a circle that's 24,901 segments. They don't have to be miles, or you can cut that in half and do it as 12,000 segments and see how many segments of drop there is every mile of traverse. And I don't know who says that it's not 8 inches per mile squared. I don't get I've never heard.
So I looked it up. This guy's YouTube channel is HIITH. That's the name of it. Hith, whatever that means, and some punk. And he debunks this all the time. And he just sits there with a sarcastic tone, like he's a genius, but he could be no more than 20, and he's telling us we're all retards. So,
tells us also those people say it's 8 inches per mile is what they come back with.
Right, that one's terrible. But he doesn't tell you what the actual. He just says 8 inches per mile squared is not correct, and then fails to tell you what is correct.
Banned for life.
And when you do,
it's ridiculous.
And when you listen to these guys, who say that, but they never tell you what it really is. If they're coming from authority and they're saying that we don't know what we're talking about, well, why don't they tell us what it is then? And they never do. So. And that's why I think they're full of.
I've heard that number breaks down after like 100 miles, but it's not very far off even when you get to 1,000 miles. And so we can never see 1,000 miles. So therefore, it's a perfect equation as far as I've seen, and matches their 24,901 mile globular beliefs.
Well, I sent this email and experiment off about an hour ago to your email. So I think it'd be a real world way to because you don't even need to draw the whole circle. I just need a 330-foot long piece of rope staked in 90 degrees on an azimuth with a compass, military, and I could do 100-inch arc, 200, 300, 400, and I even built in corrections if it's over or under. I did the calculations for 7 inches per mile and 9 inches per mile, so that way if it is off, I know which way it is, so that way it can be proven. You know what I mean? Like, absolutely. And so
to Jeranism Yahoo or to my other email?
It's Jeranism at Yahoo.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Yep. All right, guys, have a good night. Dave, have a good one. I hope you appreciate and like my experiment if you have time to look at it.
Thanks.
I'll forward it over.
All right.
Thanks, William. All right, let's go to the next
call. I'm pretty sure William is on Team Dave. Next.
Probably was, but again, Dave, if it was all about who has more people on your team, then we'd all be Globers, and we could all just say, well, I'm pretty sure more people.
At some point, you have to put it up to a vote. At some point.
Oh, then the Globe would win, hands down. Doesn't mean shit. Let's go to the 513 area code. You're on with Jeranism Monday Night Raw. Who's this?
Not in this group.
Tim. Hi, Tim from Cincinnati. How are you?
Tim from Cincy. What's up?
Yeah. By the way, you guys are awesome. I just live for this stuff, and you guys are debating with intelligence and passion, and I think you guys are the best. And ever since I became a flat earther, I just live for this stuff. So you guys are like meat and potatoes to me.
Are you on the Flat Earth Friend Finder? Found anybody near you yet?
I just did that the other day because I just picked up on what you guys were talking about in an earlier broadcast, and I think I got it right, but I haven't had the chance. I do a 6-day week. I'm a 64-year-old businessman. I haven't gone back and seen what I can find out yet. But I did put my name in there.
It's fun to find somebody near you, so you have somebody to talk to face to face. Super powerful. All right, go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
I'll bet it is, and I'm dying to come to one of these conferences. Just dying. So, can't this argument kind of be? I have to admit, Jeran, I'm a little bit let's just get to the bones. Can't you take something up to Sandusky to the vacuum chamber up there, take a hammer, take a piece of paper, suck the air out of that thing, and will it float or will it fall?
No. There's still that's
not
just at the rate it will go, taking the air out. That's not. Jeran's saying that there's just density, and I'm saying that there's a force plus the density.
But if you take the density and buoyancy away, which I think a vacuum would do, would it not?
No, it takes the air away.
Now, if you're in a vacuum, suddenly you have no density, you have no buoyancy.
No, you have no air.
All right, Jeran, I'm giving you this one. This is Team Jeran.
Thank you.
You think?
No. If you take something into a vacuum chamber, the items still have density. So, and the air is all sucked out, and so of course any two items you bring in there are vastly more dense than the air around it, and so they all will fall.
All right.
You got to rethink that one. It's confusing stuff.
It doesn't take away density. No, I mean.
Well, when I think of density and buoyancy, I think of water and I think of air, and if there's no air in there, there's there's nothing to be heavier than air.
You have an item that's infinitely more dense than nothing. So I mean,
so I've got this reversed. So I've got this reversed. In other words,
no, you're just confusing it. Whether if you take the air out, then the hammer is even way heavier than nothing than it was before with the air, with the downward force, of course.
Okay, all right.
And then as far as density and buoyancy, I don't even think we need to include buoyancy. I'm somebody who just says it's relative density. Buoyancy is simply what they call, because they need, just like they need a force of gravity, they need something sending things up, and they call that buoyancy. But it's just...
So you know what buoyancy is? Buoyancy is something that's less dense than something else. It's more buoyant because it's less dense. So yes, you can factor it down to one word.
Relative density.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks for the call. Next call.
Let's go to the next caller, the 949. You're on with Jeranism Monday Night Raw. Who's this?
Yeah, I'm here. This is Nathan Thompson.
Nathan Thompson. Tell me.
Nathan Thompson.
Hi, guys. How are we doing?
Good. Nathan, I'm going to give you $100 offer.
Griff, can you guys turn off the channel, please?
Nathan?
Sorry, guys. They have the channel playing on the loudspeaker in the background. I can hear you now. What's up, guys?
I'm offering you $100 for your globe head, but you're never allowed to replace it if I buy it.
Tell him $500.
I don't need $100 that bad, dude.
Damn it.
Tell him.
Do it for $1,000.
Yeah, there you go. $1,000, Dave. It's on the plate.
Oh, it's almost worth it.
Been offered.
All right, Nathan, what's going on?
I've already signed it. Never mind.
Nothing. We just finished the level. I'm over here in Denver. I'm going to debate Mick West in a week. I love everything you guys are doing. Just
That's
wanted
right.
to
Is that
tune
going
in
to be
and say hi.
face-to-face?
Can you plug that real quick so that everybody
Yeah,
knows?
that's going to be. Yeah, you can get tickets for it at madmycues.com. It will be face-to-face. Looks like it'll be, believe it or not, 3:30 p.m. So we get that 33 in there for you guys.
Thank you.
And it's going to be on the 26th, and that's Vegas time. And there are pay-per-view tickets. It's only $10, but most of the proceeds are going to the speakers. So
awesome.
That's great, man.
Yeah, super cool.
So again, that's it.
So I'm traveling all over the country.
MadMyCues.com. Go ahead.
MadMyCues.com, and we just finished Force the Level. I've been hanging out with Bob over here the whole time. Have you guys heard about his what is it? The ball bearing in space example.
Hold on,
demonstrate a force?
Nathan, you've been listening to the show?
Yeah.
We're going to hold off on that until
just
Sunday.
recently.
We're going to hold off on that until Sunday.
So Bob's
Okay.
Bob's thought experiment is going to be taking place in fake space. I can't wait for this one. It's going to be a great Globebusters. Everybody tune in so Bob can do his example of something that exists in the place that I call fake.
Nathan, thanks for the call, but before you go, what, Team Jeran or Team David?
I'm going to have to say that it can't just be density and buoyancy. There's
Team
something
David.
establishing the force, and then what happens is mostly the Globers move something out of equilibrium and say, look, something falls down. But that's not proof of gravity. Gravity is mass attracting mass or bendy space-time, and that's not the force. So I love you guys.
All right, thanks, man. Next caller.
He's kind of on both teams.
No, that was Team David.
Oh, okay. But I do want people to stop saying the word buoyancy because nobody's saying that. We're not even using.
I'm down with that. I'll go with just relative density. That means buoyancy also.
True. Yeah, you can include everything in that. All right, let's go to the 936. You're on with Jeranism Monday Night Raw. Who's this? Where are you from? I have a feeling I'm going to
Hey, what's up? This is Bob from Texas.
Hey, Bob from Texas. Just real quick, Dave. I have a feeling I'm going to get shut out in this one. And it's not. It's going to be like water off a duck's back. But anyway, what's going on there in Texas?
Oh, hey, what's up, guys, man? I just had one question about this. Is there not a possibility, is there some kind of experiment we could do to put an item in some kind of like Faraday cage or something to prove once and for all if it's an electrostatic force? I mean, is there not something that we could do to put that, nail in the coffin on that?
That's a great point. So if you're in a Faraday cage, then what I guess Dave and Bob believe would be that things would float in there because there's no more electrostatic force. So things float inside Faraday cages now. But anyway, great point.
I guess, yeah. Yeah, thank you, man.
Appreciate the call. That was easy. That's a great idea, a great example. Yeah, you can put things in a Faraday cage, cancel all the electric forces, and guess what? Things will still fall. Why do they fall, Jeran? Oh, because of relative density.
I don't believe that it cancels. You have to prove to me that it cancels all of that stuff. A static electric force. I believe it'll cancel radio waves and stuff.
Isn't that what a Faraday cage is?
I don't know. You know what? I can't speak upon it, but because things don't float in it, then therefore it doesn't get rid of the static electric force. Next caller.
Hold on. Let me look up a definition because I'm pretty sure I know this one. All right, Faraday cage, a grounded metal screen surrounding a piece of equipment to exclude electrostatic and electromagnetic influences.
No, bullshit. Get the hell out of here.
I just looked it up, and I'm reading you the exact definition. Let me read it again. A grounded metal screen surrounding a piece of equipment to exclude electrostatic and electromagnetic influences. So all we need to do is get an Now, that may be true. Now, hold on a second, Dave. Maybe what they do is they have the guys that are supposedly in the ISS. They're in a Faraday cage, and they're floating because they got rid of
why do they need wires then and everything else? I love the idea, but they screw up too much for that to be the case.
That's true.
Let's go to another call.
Caller, shoot, I don't know which. Did we just take the 949? I don't know. 949, you're on with Jeranism Monday Night Raw. Who's this? Where are you from? I might have just taken this call. No, the last one was in Texas. 949, you're on the air. Great radio. 949. All right, we're letting that person go. Let's go to the 905 area code. I wonder who this could be. You're on with Jeranism Monday Night Raw.
Hey, Jeran. Hey, David. How are you doing?
What's going on, Team Jeran or Team David?
Team Jeran.
Nice.
Yeah.
I got the show.
Sorry.
That's just because.
I just gotta say, I loved the Globusters yesterday, and Euro's F-bombs.
That was
that was the best part. The F-bombs.
That was
the best.
I love when Euro cusses and has no idea.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nothing better than
I laughed so hard.
And my favorite new word is
and David.
Bullshit. Bullshit. All bullshit. Anyway, go ahead.
David, for the app, like your app, not the Zoom Truth, but can you have you considered turning it into a compass? Because you have
a lot
your
of people have
data
been
as
saying
far
that, and I can. I'm just wondering how much purpose that would serve. And it's a little expensive move, so I have to make sure that there's a reason to do it, other than confuse people which east and west is, because you'll point it north and they'll be like, wait a minute, and people will have to realize that east and west are circles, because when you have a compass and you're standing on the ground because of the downward force, you're looking east and west. But if you raise your elevation looking down, so the land is shrinking, like when you're looking at the app, you're looking at it from a super high altitude, if that's the whole Earth, and east and west are now circles. Only time east and west really work is when you're holding the compass in your hand, and viewing something from ground level. So it might just be more confusing than it's worth.
Well, yeah, that's definitely up to you. But I just thought it would be cool to see where north is when I turn my app on, because I figure the whole
Yeah, you know what?
and
I'm probably
your
going to do it. I have to
location.
just figure out the
I knew-
graphics.
I
I'll
knew-
probably do it.
I knew he was going to weigh on you, Dave.
I'll do it. Too many people have been asking. There must be something to it.
Right, for no reason, I just knocked my
Yeah,
head.
Team Jeran's got something. Team Jeran's definitely got something on you, Dave.
Why did you message me before that you were Team David and now you're changing your story? I have a
No, we were
screenshot.
talking about Jessica Alba and Jessica Biel.
Oh.
That had nothing to do with Team Jeran and
Are you on?
David.
Are you on Team Alba or Team Beal?
Well, I'm actually on Biel. But
How
that's
dare
not
you?
the point.
How this is going to bring down
Not the
Flat Earth.
point.
This is going to bring down Flat
Yeah.
Earth. Worst thing ever to happen to Flat Earth. You on Team Beal and me on Team Alba. I can't believe it. This is the worst thing that could ever happen. Anyway, thank you very much for the, any final words before we let you go?
Love you guys.
All right.
We got 1 minute left.
We got time for one caller. Oh, I think he had a final word and I let him go. Sorry about that. 850. You got about a minute and 45 seconds. You're on with Jeranism Monday Night Raw. What's up?
Oh, man, you only going to give me a minute? All right, I got an answer for you, Jeran.
Okay.
All right, here we go. You put the bowling ball in the water. If it's 12 pounds or below, it floats. If it's 13, it sinks, right?
Correct.
Okay, you throw a golf ball up in the air. It goes up so high, and it comes back down, right?
Correct.
Okay, there is a force, but you are the force moving the item. It's just going to find this density.
I agree with you. No, I'm definitely.
Is that what you were looking for, or was you thought of that already?
No, you're absolutely right. If I take a golf ball up real high in the sky, I am the force that is taking that up. But there's no magical force pulling it down to the earth.
Then why would it come down?
No, it will find its density anyway.
Correct. It has
You were the force that moved that rock or that ball, or you went up. I jumped out of an airplane. Fat guys do fall faster because we have longer. We can pick up speed fast.
All right, don't go anywhere. I'll come back to that call. You're on with Jared. Hopefully that is. You're listening to Jared. Don't go anywhere. We got another half hour. Arguments and fun.
Hey everyone, it's Chris Gio, founder of Truth Frequency Radio and host of Beyond the Veil. The mainstream media and establishment are running scared right now, and they've prominently featured truthfrequencyradio.com as number 89 on the
right, welcome back. You are listening to Jeranism Monday Night Raw. We've got 1/2 an hour to go. We've got your phone calls. You can get in line. We've only got about 6 people in line. 213-233-3998. What I can't believe is how contentious this issue actually is. I had Anthony Riley on my channel, Sleeping Warrior, this week to give his presentation. I thought his description of relative density was fine. Explained everything that we needed explained. Immediately after that, Bob called me and had a little conversation with me and tried to convince me otherwise by saying, why do things accelerate down? And, at first I had to think about that. And I said, well, wait a second. Of course, things have to fall. In second 2, they have to be going faster than second 1 because they've built up momentum. Just like if you take a hill, you put a car on it, and you put it in neutral and start that car down the hill, in second 2, it'll be going faster than it was in second 1. Does it go 9.8 meters per second squared faster? No, of course not, because the hill is just slight. If we tipped that hill to where it was vertical, that car would surely go down at 9.8 meters per second squared. But here's the other problem. This whole 9.8 meters per second squared is in a vacuum. So if people think that we can go out and just drop things in the air and everything will fall at 9.8 meters per second squared, they're grossly mistaken. That only exists in a vacuum, and no vacuum exists in nature. Nature abhors a vacuum. No vacuum exists, period, unless humans have created it. So we all want to get jumped up on this whole at 9.8 meters per second squared in a created environment, and I hope that the continued arguments have to do with the fake place that I call space, that they call space. I think it's fake. I don't think it exists like we're taught. I don't think there's a vacuum surrounding the Earth, and so all conversations that have to do with what things do in a vacuum are simply those arguments that globers need. Globers need this argument about Newton said if we shoot a cannonball too softly, it'll hit the Earth. If we shoot it just right, it'll orbit the Earth, and if we shoot it too far, it'll fly off into space and go forever. These are just nonsense ideas. Force does not equal mass times acceleration. That is a mathematical term, and it's made up by humans. Anyway, Dave, do you agree with me? Okay, awesome. Glad Dave agrees. Dave's now on Team Jeran. or not. All right, let's go to the 850. You're on with Jeranism Monday Night Raw. Who's this? Where are you from?
Hey, this is Ben from Pensacola, Florida.
What's up, Ben? How's it going in Florida?
Oh, man, it's getting warm, man, and they're spraying our skies and all that fun stuff.
Same thing here.
But it's what?
Same thing here in California. We got chemtrails lighting up the sky like crazy today.
I don't know, man. They do it usually early in the morning here because our naval bases. But anyway, getting back to what you were saying, I think that buoyancy thing they do with the vacuum. Do you ever notice in that clip it cuts 5 or 6 different times?
Oh, absolutely.
Are they really falling at the same speed, the bowling ball and the feather?
No, I don't think so. I think that's a fake video. I think it's cut many times.
Yeah.
It's got Brian Cox in it telling us all about it, and Brian Cox also says nobody in the history of the world has ever thought the Earth was flat. So it tells you how much where I rank him.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought it was weird that it cut 5 or 6 different times. You can't watch it actually free fall from a distance. But anyway, but back to your buoyancy, your density is dense. I think it's density. I guess gases would be buoyancy, but I think things just settle. And the action upon it is what makes it move, fall, or do whatever it does. See, it's like a big rock sitting on a hill. If the ground shakes, that rock might fall off, but it was the force of the ground shaking that made the move settle, made the rock settle.
At first, the rock was settled because the hill was in the way, causing it to settle, and it was in equilibrium, even though it's sitting in a density much less than it. But again, if that mountain's not there, that rock will continue to go down. Yep, I agree.
Yeah, so the ground shook, the rock rolled over, and then when it did, it rolled down the hill. But just like going up in an airplane, when you jump out of it, you are the force jumping out into midair.
Correct.
There is no force pulling you down.
Yeah.
Because go back to the Faraday cage. If it was an electromagnetic field pulling you down to the ground, when you walked into the Faraday cage, would you not float?
You should. Yep. Yeah.
I mean, this is just kind of rolls through my head, man. I'm kind of a bored person down here. I don't have many flat earthers to talk to. By the way, while I'm on your channel, I would like to tell everybody on the Gulf Coast, Florida, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, sign up on that ZoomTruth.com because people are adding to it real fast. And
have
there's
you
a
found
lot of
anybody
people
near
that-
you?
Yeah, actually, there's a couple of people, 20, 50 miles, 150 miles. I'm right here by the state line, so I get a lot of people from Mobile out towards Tallahassee. Now, there's a girl named Karen in Jacksonville that's already been having meetups. But that's a long way to drive. It's like driving down the coast of California. Florida's a long state if you really look at it.
Hang in there. When version 2 comes out, which is going to be very soon, a lot more people are going to be joining, and there's going to be people right near you. I'm sure of it.
I haven't been as excited as I am about that app as I am. The app has really got me excited. That'll be so cool when we have it filled up with everybody. Hopefully people are brave enough to just get on there and put a fake name and put a city next to yours. It's not a big deal, and you'll be able to decide who you want to talk to via email or however you want to contact them.
Yeah. Or put your real name and your real address.
I actually put my address on mine, so everybody, but I don't care.
Good for you. Good for you. A proud flat earther.
That's right, Dave. I mean, I live it every day. I can see it. I can look across the bays. I can look across the Gulf. It's flat, dude.
That's going to be the new American flag. I'm a flat earther. We're going to be putting flat earth flags on our houses next.
Oh, I've got a. Let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, I actually had to go out and buy a P900 just to take a picture of it, just to say, look at that. How do you see that? And my friends just look at me and say, well, it's got to be something. And I'm like, no, there's something. It's right there. You're looking right at it.
You got to be.
You're looking over the water. You shouldn't see that. It's 50 miles away.
Right.
And they just say, oh, there must be something in the atmosphere. Yeah, it's that thing over there in the atmosphere. We're looking at it. That's all there is. But anyway, I just want to say that y'all guys are doing a great job, man. Actually, y'all are I talked to Mark Sargent the other night. He was the third. So y'all are the fourth and the fifth flat earthers I've ever talked to.
All right. Well, you've been talking to more and more. Come to one of the conferences.
Yeah, come to a conference.
Yeah.
Love to see you there.
Yeah, I would love to. The next one's in Dallas.
Yep,
yeah, Dallas.
in November.
Okay. That's a long drive, but, I might just try to make that one, man, just to come say hey and shake your hands, especially since y'all both doing a great job.
Hey, thanks.
And like I told Mark Sargent, everybody out there is doing a great job. I wish I could do more, but all I can do is talk to my friends and family, and most of them just disown me, so they're scared to talk to me now.
You're not the only.
But I don't mind.
All right,
but,
appreciate the call so much.
Guys, hey, man, I appreciate it.
Oops.
All right, thanks for the call.
So I'm the worst at handling this call board. Okay, so yeah, and I love what he talked about looking across the water. Again, check out Ranty's video. The game is up. He just released it today. It shows you exactly the issue when people say, well, why can't we see the beach? Well, sometimes you can and sometimes you can't. And that's certainly not globe-proof.
Love the bricks.
The bricks. Yeah, and I think Iru is actually designing a 3D rendering of that for me because I told him about it and said, hey, can we get a drawing of this or a 3D render? And he's supposed to show me that later this week. So we're on our way to getting a nice video about the bricks. Let's go to 832. You're on with Jeranism Monday Night Raw. Who's this and where are you from?
Hello, Colorado. This is Ace from Cloud.
Ace, what's going on? Shout out to Ace Cloud.
Hey, good.
Ace, take the pillow off your face.
Or the phone out of your mouth, one or the other.
Is it bad?
It's not good.
Hello?
That's
there
better.
You go.
Better?
What the heck were you doing? You sitting on your own?
Okay, I had a new Bluetooth headset. No, I have a new Bluetooth headset, and I haven't even had a chance to get it sorted. Anyways, two things for you. One is along the lines of what you were talking about, the 9.8 meters.
Yeah.
And regardless of what causes that, we can show that the globe model with its theory doesn't work in this case. Have you ever seen them drop more than one or two things side by side? We all know the feather and the hammer, right? Supposedly they hit at the same time. But there's been experiments where they'll have 8 different elements all side by side, take them to the real nice vacuum chamber, drop them all at the same time, and they start falling at different rates.
What do you think about that?
So
Dave?
right there,
different
your whole
static potentials.
gravity thing's busted. Right.
They have different static charges.
And it all stems, same with, so like just like with magnetism and even light, that's a little harder to understand. But Ken Wheeler really breaks it down well. But magnetism, it's not necessarily a force as much as it is an acceleration. So if I hold a nail up to a magnet, it accelerates towards that magnet. Now the best theory that I'm comfortable with is this whole dielectric acceleration, which one part of that is magnetism. Another part is what we call gravity, or the potential for things to order themselves in one direction towards a point, which in our case is the Earth.
Right.
But it's very well explained. So look into those things. UAP is the one that had the multiple elements falling. I can't find any of the old videos I've seen on it. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Hey, appreciate it. I'll check that out for sure. And yeah, and I agree with the way he said that about that they have to order themselves. Now, what I say is that they do have to order themselves in one direction, but whatever direction that would be what we would call down as humans. So to have an argument about why do things fall down is the most insane argument I've ever.
Is Zay still there?
No, he's gone.
All right. I'm pretty sure it was Team David. Next call.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably most people are, because they have to be. I mean, this is what we've been taught. It's just like the globe. If we said, I'm sure most.
Oh, now you're putting it because we're all indoctrinated. That's why That's why. I think people in this chat here,
gravity is needed.
That
so
listen to this show.
Hold on,
are awake.
They're awake, but gravity is so needed in their model. There needs to be
in our model.
No,
we need a downward force in our model, or everybody would float off the flat Earth.
No, they are much more dense in the air they reside in, Dave. What items are less dense than air? Helium. Guess what direction that goes? Up. Hydrogen. What direction does it go? Up. Everything
because
else is
of the downward force.
Oh boy, here we go.
All right, next caller.
516. You're on with Jeranism RAW. Who is this? Where are you from?
This is Joe from Long Island, New York.
What's up, Joe in Long Island?
How you doing? I appreciate all your work, you and Dave. You put a lot of time into what you do, so I just wanted to thank you guys. I'm going to have to go with the East Coast guy on this one.
Team David, thank you. Smart gentleman.
You're very welcome.
No reason why.
I always think of like the, what's that guy down the Coral Castle guy who's levitating those blocks and stuff? How did he do that?
I don't know. Did you see him do that?
No, I did not. But what about the bumblebees and the scarab beetles and stuff that defy that force?
Exactly.
Thinking about that.
Well, if they defy the force that you're talking about, then why not eliminate
by changing their electrostatic potential, not their density?
Okay.
I think Jeran's Team David now.
No. Far from it. No. Here's the thing: when you get rid of everything, like we did to become flat earthers, when we erased everything that we were told when we grew up, you quickly realize that density and relative density can explain all that gravity is said to explain. But they need gravity to make the Earth a ball. They need gravity to have the Earth go around the sun. So for me, until somebody proves to me that gravity exists, I see no reason to even discuss it. And I don't see a reason. That's what they need. They need gravity so bad that even though all their tests and experiments say that gravity doesn't work in the outer universe, they add.
We're not globers. We don't need gravity. Stop putting their nonsensical argument for their stupid ball on what we're arguing. We're arguing that there is a downward force.
You just said we don't need it, but you're still holding onto it like a little baby blanket.
Okay, next caller.
You said we don't need it, and then you're now all of a sudden. Did you listen to Owen Benjamin's music video the other day when he was wearing the NASA coat?
Of course, that was great.
Listen to it again at the beginning, and then you'll understand why they need gravity. They need it so bad that they've.
What do you think? Owen is Team Jeran or Team David?
I think Owen is Team Owen, which I like about him.
Okay.
Just like I'm Team Jeran, which you should like it. Yes. No, I don't need to join any teams. I simply am voicing that.
Because you're all alone.
I know, I'm very alone. But until gravity is proven to me, I'm not going to just accept it and say, yeah, there are things pulling things down.
Stop calling it gravity.
That's what they call it.
I don't call it gravity. I call it the electrostatic force, and everything has its electrostatic potential. Next caller, please. Do we have any more callers?
Of course, the 928. You're on with Jeranism Monday Night Raw. Who's this? Where are you from?
Hey guys, it's Josh. I'm from Arizona.
What's up, Josh?
How are you?
Hey, Josh. Home of the 5G rollout.
I told you. I
Sacramento.
already saw it. I saw it on my Apple iPhone. It said 5G up in the upper left-hand corner. It's very scary.
Yeah. So about this. So both of you guys were at the conference, right, in 2018. The last one.
Yeah.
Anyway, Denver, yes. What did you guys think about Noxie's presentation on this particular subject?
God, I don't recall it. About it. Wasn't it him and Paul McLean?
Paul on the plane, yeah, both of them. Noxie did most of the speaking because he has been looking into it for, I think he said about 2 years or so.
And what was the gist of his conclusion?
Basically, and he had a good argument that it basically boiled down to buoyancy. And I know I watched Sleeping Warriors about it's all density, but about how buoyancy actually sorts pretty much everything out. And density does have something to do with it. But really, I can see both of your guys' arguments on is there a down or is there not a down? If you really watch his presentation, you'd see where I come from on that one.
Okay, I'm going to check it out.
It's that
about that, but I could see where somebody could say that buoyancy explains it all because buoyancy is a result of relative density. So I want to watch what he's saying because that's the same as saying relative density. I don't think you can just say buoyancy alone because then why does anything go down? But if he's
you can't say static force alone because you need some relative density.
Right, yeah, exactly. Now, in the end, this is the interesting part, and I don't want it to. It's not going to weigh one way or another the way I think or what I want you guys to think. But he says, in the end, he does, in a sense, believe in a form of some form of electricity that's causing down. But I don't. But I don't really, after watching what he did and then looking further into it, I really don't think there has to be, I mean, that's what he thinks and there's nothing wrong with it. Because we're all trying to figure this nonsense out, obviously.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, appreciate the call. I always hang up on people. I'm the worst.
You got to do it sometimes.
Well, yeah, I always think that they're done or that was right. And I move on. But in a sense, again, I totally agree that there is a down and things do fall down. And the majority of things, almost everything that you can imagine, is more dense than air. So, if you want to say, well, why do things fall down? Well, because everything is more dense than air. Well, why is the Earth at the ground? Well, because it's more dense than the air and it has to settle somewhere. And
things are more dense than air. Things are less dense than air. That doesn't mean there's not a downward force. So stop trying to say that because things have different densities means that there can't be a downward force. Of course, there's different densities and there's a downward force. That's why things go down.
I didn't say there can't be a downward force. I said there isn't one, and one isn't needed. That's what I said. So you're saying I said that there can't be. No, I never said that there can't be a downward force. I don't see any evidence of that. We don't need it. But anyway, let's go to the 208 area code. You're on with Jeranism Monday Night Raw. Last chance to get callers in, 213-233-3998 if you want to weigh in real quickly. Go ahead, 208.
Team Jeran.
Really? Shocked.
Yeah, me too. Who's this?
And
Wolfie?
This is David. And I am electrical engineer.
Okay.
So I know the electric universe model pretty clearly.
And you don't think there's a downward pulling force?
No.
Yeah, me neither. Me neither, and I think it's desperately needed.
Otherwise, we would be able to measure it.
I agree.
I think we can measure it.
Electrically.
I think we can.
Electrically, you can measure a downward pulling force on the Earth?
Yeah. If you get a 1 pound weight, it has pulling it down at 1 pound of pressure.
Thanks, David.
Okay, thank you.
All right, appreciate the call.
All right, thanks for the call.
And it's funny, when I said thanks, David, there I actually meant you, and then he said thanks and thought I was talking to him. But 858 area code, you're on with Jeranism Monday Night Raw. Who's this? Where are you from?
Hey, what's up, Jeran? This is Dave Romero from San Diego.
Oh, David, I love you. What's going on?
A lot of Daves.
Too many. Sorry, both of you.
You know, just some food for thought. Have you kind of gone back to revisit the Missouri gravity low when thinking about all of this? Because if that's an actual thing, then I think that would lean more towards Team Dave. If there's an area that actually gets that you can measure less weight,
electrostatic
less gravity,
force.
And
I've never measured it. I don't know if it's a real thing. There's a lot of reports saying it's a real thing. So therefore, did density change there, Jeran, or does the downward force change?
I have no idea. I look into that because it doesn't.
What's interesting?
You're saying that in that one area there's just a different electric force going on?
It's called the Missouri gravity low?
Correct. Yeah, and interestingly enough, it matched up pretty closely to the eclipse shadow that went through the United States too.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
Jeran's coming
so
around.
Just some food for thought on that.
All right, appreciate that. Any other comments before we let you go?
No, just that I am Team David, but just like anything else, you have to keep an open mind and try not to be so indoctrinated.
Well said.
Thanks, David.
Well said. Yeah, David.
Whatever you said, thanks.
All right, let's go to the next caller in the 859. You're on with Jeranism Monday Night Raw.
Hello.
What's up?
Hey, what's going on? This is Taylor.
What's up, Taylor?
I'm Team Jeran.
I might
explain why.
I might just even up the score.
Well, the reason I'm Team Jeran is because what he's saying, it makes sense. Like, I understand that people want to believe there's a force responsible for down, but I would argue that the force responsible for down is perspective. Like, the only reason there's a down is because we have made something down.
Correct.
Just like when I think Eru or somebody was sharing a picture of the little, the different liquids stacked on top of each other in that tube. And I think it was like a little cherry tomato or something in the middle.
Right, the density tower.
I mean, that's the exact same thing. Like, things will just find their equilibrium, just like the hydrogen and helium examples from earlier that Jeran said. The only reason that we have a down is because that's just a human concept that we came up with, but it doesn't actually have to exist.
Right.
This is your opinion.
It would exist no matter where we called down. So that's the problem with that argument, is no matter which direction down was, humans would be standing and saying, well, why do things go down? Because that's you're standing.
Exactly.
Have to go. So appreciate that. We're going to try and get to the rest of these calls. Thank you so much for calling in. Let's go to the 260. You're on with Jeranism Monday Night Raw. Who's this? You got about a minute.
Well, it's Keith from Indiana. Just a third possibility. In 1 Kings chapter 8, I know you don't like the Bible, but verse 27, when Solomon's dedicating the temple, said something interesting. He said, "But will God indeed dwell on the earth? Behold, the heaven and the heaven of heavens cannot contain thee. How much less this house that I have builded thee?" It's a wonderful prayer. It goes all the way to 61, not a lot of history, but what if God's controlling? What if you two are going to have different points of view? Neither one of you can prove it. You'd be kind of like the man wandering in the desert.
I agree with that. And I don't dislike the Bible. I just don't think it's necessarily divine. But I think it's got some great points in there, some great writings. But let's go to 847, last caller on Jeranism Monday Night Raw. Who's this?
Emilios,
how are you? This is the turn.
Good guy.
David, let's agree that it's either whoever wins this one wins it all.
No.
Oh man, the pressure's on. I love both. Love both you guys. I'm with Jeran. Only because it's very hard to wrap my mind around any kind of downward electrical force. Now we know that as you go upper level in the atmosphere, things thin out, and there's a lot of plasma and a lot of supposed electricity. I just don't see the downward thing unless you were talking a magnetic toroidal type thing. Now, the one interesting thing, and Dave did bring this up, was spiders. And spiders actually can supposedly use their webbing, and that's how they fly from place to place.
I think that Bob's going to use that one on Sunday, too. That's a good for Bob.
All right.
Guys, thanks
See you guys on
Probably
Sunday.
Something fascinating. Thanks.
Later.
Bye-bye.
Truth Frequency Radio is your #1 source for news and information without the hate, hype, and fear. We're proud to feature cutting-edge programs like Beyond the Veil with Chris and Cherie Geo, X Squared with Brooks Agnew, Paranormal Portal with Brent Thomas, Jeranism RAW with Jeran and Missa, Fearless with Frank Castle, Strange World with Mark Sargent, The Eye of Ra with Ra Castaldo, The Infinite Fringe with Billy Ray, Ironworks with Josh Corey, The Kev Baker Show, and dozens more. Did you know you can listen from any telephone by dialing 641-793-7117 or call into your favorite show toll free at 833-TFR-LIVE. Uncensored talk and news you won't hear in the mainstream media. Truth Frequency Radio, your protection from deception.
Financial ruling, the Russia probe. I'm Ann Cates. A federal judge has ruled against White House efforts and has ordered President Trump's longtime accounting firm to turn over his financial records to lawmakers. Correspondent Manu Raju.
The judge believes that these kind of investigations could eventually lead to legislation. And that's because what the White House and Trump organization have been arguing is that there's no legitimate legislative purpose for seeking these records, which is why they say that these subpoenas are essentially invalid and the court should block these subpoenas. But here in this case, the judge clearly disagrees and says that Congress has the right to assert itself in these areas.
The Trump administration has barred former counsel Don McGahn from appearing on Capitol Hill tomorrow to discuss the Russia probe findings, and his lawyer says he won't appear. Correspondent Pamela Brown reports House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jerry Nadler will proceed anyway.
We expect the committee to actually still hold a hearing even if McGahn doesn't show up. Nadler has said that he would hold a contempt vote for Don McGahn, and then of course this could end up in a court fight. I know that the White House is prepared for such a fight, but of course part of the calculation, according to a source